Welcome to the Deep Dive. Ready to explore a text that reads like you're having a conversation with God.
Now, before you think we've gone totally off the deep end, I can tell you this text isn't about pushing any specific beliefs.
It really got me thinking in new ways, I have to admit. It asked these really big questions, like, what if instead of searching for your true self, you're actually creating it?
Exactly. That whole idea of self-creation, of constantly evolving, it's a huge theme we're diving into today.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this text talks about recognizing messages, like how do you know if it's, really divine or just your brain making stuff up?
Right. Like, is it intuition or just that extra cup of coffee talking? This text says real, genuine, divine messages have a feeling of joy, truth, and love to them.
Okay, I can see that.
But, and this is important, it says those messages aren't always easy to hear. They can make you uncomfortable, or people might misinterpret them, or just completely ignore them.
So it's like that gut feeling you get. You're like, nah, didn't get. But it really was a message all along. So how do we apply that to our own lives? I mean, how do I know if it's a sign from the universe or like I just really want pizza?
That's the question, isn't it? The text talks about how our experiences are like messengers themselves. But here's the thing. We often ignore those messages, which just means we end up repeating the same lessons again and again.
Oh, man. It's like the universe is saying, hello, pay attention. But we just hit snooze. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So moving on, prayer. This text had a very, shall we say, unique take on it.
Totally. It challenges that whole idea of prayer as begging for things or trying to bargain with,
with God.
Yeah. It's more about aligning yourself with a reality that, in a way, already exists.
Whoa, hold on. So it's not that our prayers are useless. Like, God's not even listening.
Not exactly. It's more like sometimes those unanswered prayers, it's because deep down we don't believe we deserve what we're asking for. It's like we're sending mixed signals.
So my own doubts are the problem, not some divine decree.
This text seems to say so. It suggests a total shift from asking to being grateful. Focus on what you already have, appreciate it, and that opens you up to receiving even more.
It's like saying, thank you for everything, including the potential for this new thing I desire. You're already living in that reality. That's huge.
It's a total mindset change. And this idea ties into the bigger picture of, personal responsibility. This text isn't saying God is controlling everything we do. Instead, it's more like God is a loving observer, empowering us to create our experiences.
It's freeing and kind of scary at the same time.
Yeah.
It's powerful to think you're shaping your life, but then again, you can't blame bad luck when things go wrong.
I know, right? The text focuses on free will as this incredible gift. Imagine a parent watching their kid play. They care, obviously, but they're not going to interfere with every little game the kid plays.
Okay, I love that analogy. So God is like, go for it, make your choices, learn from them. I'm here for the journey.
Mm-hmm.
But this next part, wow, this is where it gets really interesting. It's saying there's no such thing as universal right or wrong, just choices and their consequences.
Yeah, no cosmic rule book. That one threw me for a loop at first, too.
Wow, no cosmic rule book, huh? That's a lot to unpack. So how do we even navigate life without some kind of moral compass?
And that's where this idea of true freedom comes in. It's about understanding every choice you make creates a ripple. It's not about following some preset list of rules, but learning from what happens as a result of what you do.
Okay, so instead of trying to be perfect, it's more about just like embracing the journey, even the messy parts, knowing that even when we mess up, there's a lesson there.
Exactly. It's like leveling up that sense of personal accountability. Because think about it. If you're really the one creating your reality, you have the power to make it reflect what you care about most.
It's like you're designing your life from the inside out. But that makes me wonder, how do we even know what we really want? I mean, the world's full of distractions and expectations.
That's so true. This text is really big on connecting with your true self. It's about tapping into that inner wisdom, the part of you that already gets it.
But what about those times when that inner voice is so quiet you can barely hear it? What if you've been ignoring it for so long you're not even sure it's there anymore?
This text says that inner voice is always there no matter what. It might be buried, but it's there. It talks about things like meditation, spending time in nature, anything that helps you quiet your mind so you can hear it.
It's like hitting the reset button on your brain, right? Creating a space where those inner whispers can actually be heard.
Exactly. And the more you listen to that inner voice, that intuition, the stronger it gets, like exercising a muscle.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But sometimes even when you hear it, actually following that inner voice is scary, especially if it goes against what everyone else expects of you.
Oh, absolutely. This text talks about that tension between what society expects and who you really are. Like, we're practically programmed to fit in, to get approval, to follow the rules, even if it means being inauthentic.
It's like we're so busy trying to please everyone else, we forget who we are in the process. So how do you break free from that? How do you get the guts to just be yourself, even when it's uncomfortable?
I think it starts with realizing that you are worthy, just as you are. It's about knowing that you're enough without having to achieve anything or be anyone else.
That's a powerful idea, but it's easier said than done, isn't it? It's like the world's always telling you need to do more, be more, have more to be enough. It takes serious courage to just say, nope, this is me, take it or leave it.
It really does. This text is all about finding that inner freedom that comes from living in alignment with your own truth, not someone else's expectations.
So it's less about seeking approval from the outside world and more about cultivating that deep down self-love and acceptance.
Exactly. And that's when things get really interesting. Because when you embrace who you truly are, you start attracting people and experiences that match that energy.
Like attracts, like, right, it's like you become a magnet for the good stuff when you stop trying to be someone you're not.
Exactly. And that's where the real magic of life unfolds.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about being true to ourselves, but how does that play out in our relationships? I mean, we all crave love and connection, but relationships can also be, well, really complicated. What does this text have to say about navigating that whole world?
You know, this text has a really unique take on relationships. It's not about finding your other half or checking off boxes on some perfect partner list. It's more about seeing relationships as this incredible space for growth, where you support each other's journeys and celebrate your individuality.
It's about choosing to evolve together, even when it's messy and challenging.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that relationships are meant to push us, to help us become more loving, more compassionate, more whole.
That's a beautiful thought, but also a little intimidating. So how do you actually handle the inevitable bumps in the road when you're in a relationship?
This text stresses how important open and honest communication is, like being really vulnerable with each other and being present with what's going on, even the tough stuff.
So it's not about pretending everything's perfect, but being real with each other, even when it's hard.
Exactly. It's about creating that safety where you can both feel heard and seen and appreciated for who you are.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about when relationships end, even when you've tried your best? I mean, heartbreak is real.
It is real, and this text doesn't shy away from that. It says every relationship, no matter how long it lasts, teaches you something. Even when it ends, there are gifts in it, and it's still part of your growth.
So instead of seeing it as a failure, it's more about taking the lessons with you and trusting that you're still on the right path, even when it hurts.
Exactly. You deserve to honor how you feel, to go through the process of healing. But never forget, you're stronger than you think, and you will love again.
That's a good reminder. Okay, this is all so powerful.
Yeah.
But we need to take a quick break. We'll be right back to dive into the last part of this incredible text. Don't go anywhere. All right, we're back, and we're diving right back into this incredible text. We talked about relationships, but this text also has some really interesting things to say about work and what it means to have a purpose,
It kind of turns that whole idea of a dream job on its head, doesn't it?
Totally. It's like, forget finding the perfect position. It's more about bringing your full self to whatever you do.
Exactly. It's about finding that fulfillment not in what you achieve, but in who you are while you're doing it.
It's like the journey is the destination and all that. So finding those things you're good at, passionate about, and aligning those with, what the world needs. But realistically, not every job is going to feel like a dream. What about those days when it just feels like, well, work?
I think that's when we're challenged to find that meaning, that purpose, even in those everyday tasks. The text talks about how even the most ordinary job can become like a spiritual practice if you approach it the right way.
Okay, I'm listening. So it's about bringing that intention and awareness to everything you do, even if it's just like a staff meeting.
Exactly. Every little thing you do can ripple out and create positive change, even if you don't see it right away.
I love that. It's like how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
But what about those people who are still trying to figure out their purpose, their calling? What does the text say about that?
It talks a lot about tuning into your intuition, that inner wisdom. It suggests things like meditation, being in nature, just creating that space for quiet so you can actually hear that inner voice.
So stop looking for answers outside yourself and start listening to what's already inside.
Yes, it's about trusting that the universe, that intelligence that's woven through everything, is guiding you toward what's best for you.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, we've covered so much ground today. Relationships, purpose, work. But there's one more big topic we have to touch on. Death. It's something none of us can avoid, but it's often surrounded by so much fear. What does this text have to say about that?
It's really interesting. It has a very different take on death than like traditional religious views. It doesn't see death as an ending, but more like a transition, a natural part of this whole cycle of life, death, and rebirth.
So it's not about going to heaven or hell, but continuing on, growing and evolving in a different way.
Exactly. It's like when you die, you're letting go of your physical body, but returning to this state of pure consciousness where you can look back on your life, learn from it, and decide what you want to experience next.
That's actually really comforting, especially for people who are grieving. It's a reminder that death isn't the end, it's just a new beginning.
And the text emphasizes that love goes beyond everything, even death. So the connections we make in this life, they don't just disappear.
It's like even when someone's physically gone, that love, that bond, it still exists in some form. That's beautiful.
It really is. It's about embracing that mystery.
Totally. Wow, this whole conversation has been mind-blowing. We've explored so much, and it's really challenged us to see things in a whole new light.
It's been incredible to dive into these ideas with you.
Before we go, any final thoughts for our listeners?
Keep asking those big questions, trust your gut, and never stop exploring. You have everything you need within you to create an incredible life.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep searching, keep growing, and keep living your truth.